What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show with me, Sean Sheehan, here on Sherdog.com. And today I'm looking ahead to the November 29, 2024 Professional Fighters League finale. It is the season championship card, and I'm going to be looking at the global fights today. I have another video out with the PFL MENA and the undercard under that as well. There's some great fights on that, so check that video out. If it's not out already, it'll be out in the next couple of days. But today I'm looking at the top fights, the big title fights, after a very, very interesting season of the PFL Global. You know, at the end of the year, I'll have a review, and I suppose it's easier to do once these fights are over, so we can look maybe back at the championship runs. But what we have now is a bunch of fighters here in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 title fights that I'm going to run through here, who have all gone undefeated 3-0 this year, which is, you might think is, I actually haven't gone back and checked the previous years, but I would garner a guess that hasn't happened before, and if it has, maybe only once, because there's usually an injury, there's usually someone who has, you know, gone one-on-one and got through the season, or someone who's got a big finish and then lost their next fight or something like that and has managed to get through the playoffs and managed to get through to the finale, or, you know, as I said, someone may be injured in the last 2 weeks before the card, or someone who, you know, got hurt in the fight, in the semi-final fight, let's say, or something like that. A raft of different things can happen, but that hasn't happened on this card, and this card is stacked because of it and very interesting because of it. And I think anyone who has watched the season this year will be very, very intrigued by a lot of these fights, because I would go as far as to say that maybe 2 of these fights I have a strong opinion on who's going to win, and in the others I could go either way, really, which, you know, when you're putting on title fights, it's not always the way. You know, a lot of the times when you have like a very good fighter atop a division, you know, it's hard to get people to deal with them, or to, you know, to challenge them, or to you know, make it an intriguing matchup with them. But PFL have managed to do it, I would say, in all of these, but especially let's put it in the top 4 they have here, which is, you know, absolutely fantastic. So I have enjoyed the season. I think PFL this year, obviously with the amalgamation with Bellator, it's almost like a lot of things have been changing throughout this year. It was almost like maybe they were rushed into it at the start, and it has ended up well. But I'm very interested to see the difference between this season and next season. The difference between PFL/Bellator this year and next year. And again, we'll be doing end of the year podcast as well, and that's maybe a bigger chat for there, which I definitely will do it. But as we get towards, you know, the end of the year, obviously with the not just the PFL Global, but the PFL MENA, which is on this card as well, and PFL Europe, which is coming up in the next couple of weeks as well. It's go time now for the PFL. It surely is. So here we go. And atop this card, so the title fights, just to call them out here before I get into each one. Headlining the card will be the featherweight matchup between Brent and Loughnane and Timur Khizriev. The co-main event will be Taila Santos against Dakota Ditcheva for the women's 125-pound title. The light heavyweight title fight is the next up. It's Impa Kasanganay against Dovletdzhan Yagshimuradov. I spoke to Impa earlier in the week, so if you haven't seen that video yet, please check it out here on YouTube. Then we have Shamil Musaev against Magomed Umalatov for the welterweight strap. Brent Primus against Gadzhi Rabadanov for the lightweight strap. I also spoke to Brent. I'm not, as I speak here, it's not out yet, but it'll probably be out by the time this video is out, so check that out with Brent. And then Denis Goltsov against Oleg Popov as well for the heavyweight strap. As I said, all of those 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, every single one of them. Not to go full two-finer there, but all of them 3-0 this year. So let's talk about the main event, Brent and Loughnane against Timur Khizriev. I'm so interested in Brendan as a fighter, and have been for a very, very long time now. It's mad to think he's 34 years of age and he's 34 fights into his career. Like, I knew Brendan at at the very start of his career, but also like at a point where I was at his fight against Tom Duquesnoy in Dublin in 2015. So that's 9, it's over 9 years ago, which is absolutely crazy. And at that point, everyone was talking about Brendan being, the guy, and it was very close fight. A lot of people think Brendan won. Some people think he was robbed blind in that fight, but he's been a guy who's been around for a very, very long time. And, there was talks of him signing for, a big deal with someone around then, whether it was, UFC or Bellator or whatever. Then he ended up going to ACB, and they had a lot of money around that time, had a big few fights there, and then he was, trying to get to the UFC. Obviously, he ended up in the Contender Series, beat Bill Algeo, and then we all know what happened there with Dana White Contender Series, but that was probably the best thing that ever happened to him. He went into the PFL, won the million, won the million quid, and is now back fighting for it again. And it's had so many fights in PFL for so much money. It's been absolutely fantastic for him. And you look at someone like Brendan Loughnane and you think, he's had 3 seasons now, or 4 seasons now. Is that correct? I think it is. And he could be on for his second million. After going 3-0 this year, beating Carvalho, Gonzalez, and Kamaka. And the reason I kind of read through his there, I mightn't do that necessarily for everyone as we kind of concentrate on the fights. I think Brendan Loughnane is a beacon of hope maybe for everyone, that there's not just one way. It was, someone said to me the other day about Paul Hughes. About Paul Hughes and Ian Gary here from Ireland were kind of coming up the same way. Ian Gary's one step away from a title fight. Paul Hughes is in a title fight. Both of them seemingly earning good money. Both of them did it very different ways. And it's good that that's possible. And, fair play to the PFL. There's a lot of criticism for not just PFL, but other organizations as well. But very important to have more than the UFC. And the fact that Brendan Loughnane has put on a career like this is testament not just to him, but to what the PFL have done, and long may it continue. So this year, you could argue that this year has been Loughnane best. We had the Pedro Carvalho fight where, we know the stoppage is the stoppage. Brendan looked very good for that fight, and, likely would have won if the weird stoppage hadn't happened anyway, the way the fight was going, no doubt about it. Then, he battered Justin Gonzalez around the place. And the Kai Kamaka fight, you're fighting Kai Kamaka, it's always going to be close. He's such a good fighter. But Brendan Loughnane, I think he was, I think everyone would probably agree, even Kai himself, Brendan was the rightful winner there. So, 2 good stoppages and 1 good 3-round performance, which is kind of exactly what you need, not too much damage on the body, enough to recover from one fight to the next, and it's August since he had that last one. So August, September, October, November, 3 months. That's perfect. Absolutely perfect for someone like Brendan Loughnane. So he's entering this in a real good place. And for Khizriev, who's 17-0 at 29 years of age, I suppose he hasn't found those issues that Brendan Loughnane has found yet. He debuted in 2014 and fought an awful lot around the lesser known promotions, I suppose, before getting into Bellator in 2022, and he had that fight with Richie Smullen and in the card here in Ireland, which was no, was it here? No, it wasn't here in Ireland. It was in America, I believe. And that fight, but also fought Justin Gonzalez. Tough fight there as well in his 3 before coming over here. And he's one of those guys that always impressed in those. But there were 3 decisions in a row, and you're kind of thinking like, okay, this is an obviously talented guy, but is he going to get to that next level, and not just is he going to get to that next level? I think the ability definitely there. I think the thing for Khizriev is is he going to, I suppose, shine above some other guys? And when you're a guy like that, and there's actually a good few guys like that, and maybe even including Loughnane, who love the season. Because what do? You get a fight like Brett Johns. Brett Johns, a guy who has, kind of a bigger name, and people know him and people like him. You get in there with Brett Johns and you win. And you prove something. You get in there with Barzola, you win. You prove something. You get in there with Braga and you win. You prove something. And that's exactly what a guy like Khizriev needs, to be able to showcase his ability in fight after fight after fight against good fighter after good fighter after good fighter. And that's what he has done this year. So both of these guys, they're on an unbelievable run. An unbelievable run. Loughnane lost to Pinedo last year. But other than that, how many fights in a row is it? It's 5, 6, 7, 8. 8-1 his last 9. That's that. That's a serious run. And before that, he lost to Mavlid, but there was, 6 fights in a row before that. So what's that? 14 of his last 16 or something. That's an insane run. And for Khizriev, what did I say? It was 17-0. Yeah, 17-0. This is incredible, high level stuff. So looking at both of them as fighters, Khizriev, first of all, I watched one of his early Bellator fights and his latest fight, and the improvements in his striking are something that really stood out to me. He throws, first of all, the leg kicks, which I think is something. I don't think it's something improved. I think it's something brand new nearly that he's added to his game that's very effective. But what is improved are his ability to land combos. He throws them. He throws his combos in a way where, well, let's put it this way. He throws combos and he doesn't throw one punch shots as much as he used to. Now he still does it. And in his previous fight against Braga, that was an area where he was caught out a few times. Now, Brendan Loughnane knows a lot better than me how to watch tape, and I guarantee you he's gone back and he's watched that, and that's something that stood out to him. And he will know, how do you beat Khizriev? You catch him when he's thrown one, and you must pray on that. You absolutely have to. Easier said than done, obviously, because the other side of it is his takedowns are so good. He does like that. The it's hard to describe it as a layman, as obviously a non-fighter or a non-wrestler or not. It's like a knee slide, hip launched takedown. He puts the arm across the hip, slides in, and just drives through. Gets to the tip of his toes and pushes through and takes lads down, and kind of swings around them. But that Braga fight, but also one of his earlier fights. The way to stop it is the overhook. Get that overhook. The arm is across you, hook over it, push him down, pull him up, and then get away out. You need, against Timur Khizriev, the overhook is probably the most important thing. It's probably more important than the right hand, the jab, everything. Because he will find a way inside. He will attempt to take it on, unless you knock him out straight away. And if you cannot defend that, you're screwed. So for Brendan Loughnane, that's, and obviously he knows a lot better than me, but that is my hair's gone insane. That overhook is the most important thing. Such an important thing. And for Loughnane on the other side of it then, just like such a talented guy. He has wrestling as well. He's well able to take people down. And, would it be the worst thing in the world to do to take Khizriev down or try to take him down? I don't think it would, but I don't think Loughnane will be looking at that. I think, Brendan will be saying, I have such a striking advantage here that I'm going to have to go for that. Like, the problem is when a lot of people fight Khizriev, right, if he gets caught in the one punch scenario, you can counter him, you can quote unquote beat him, a guy who's never been beat in that realm. But a lot of guys will struggle with the combos, which I just mentioned, but also the wrestling as well. I think for Loughnane, he's going to eat him up if Khizriev throws in singles. He won't struggle with the combinations because Loughnane is well able to fight a firefight. Well able. The wrestling is the thing. If Loughnane can stop the wrestling, if he can, the word is choke. If he can choke the wrestling, if he can get that overhook, push him down if needs be, pull him up if needs be, get the defense, turn around, he has the win of that fight. There's no doubt about it. There's absolutely no doubt about it. But can he stop that takedown? That's the thing about it. Like, Loughnane hasn't been really a guy who's been defeated with, blistering takedowns many times. He's fought some good, like he beat Bubba Jenkins, beat Chris Wade, beat many guys who are going to try to take him down throughout the years. Obviously the two losses I mentioned recently, Mavlid, is a brilliant all rounder. Pinedo, it was early and on the feet, so it's a tough one. Like this is almost one, like my initial thought before I look at the tape, I'm thinking, oh yeah, Khizriev. I think I respect Loughnane an awful lot, but God, can he live with the game at Khizriev? But after watching the tape, I think I'm leaning Loughnane, and it's a tough pick, honestly. It's a real tough pick, but I'm gonna lean Loughnane. I think he will stop the takedown, and I think if he can pray on that single shot, money, absolute money there. So that is the main event and a very, very intriguing fight. Ooh. Talking about intriguing fights, Taila Santos against Dakota Ditcheva. One of the most high-level female fights we've ever seen. One of the best, I suppose, up-and-comers versus established fighters type of fights we've ever seen. Because, you know, if you think about the great women's MMA fights down through the years, you know, it's, even on paper, but, like, it's Ronda against, you know, Misha, or Ronda against Amanda, or Amanda versus Cyborg. You know, established, we know how good they are, we know where they are in their career type of thing. It's like, maybe, man, there maybe Grasso against Shevchenko is a good example, and I'm sure there are other examples there, but, you know, the women's side of the sport is so young in terms of high level that there aren't many, like, oh, here's this unbelievable 10-0, 15-0 fighter who's going to take on, you know, Amanda Nunes, who's going to take on Shevchenko, who's going to take on, you know, whoever it might be. We haven't seen a whole lot of them, and when we have, it's often been like a real destruction. But that's what we have here. You know, we have Taila Santos, and I'm back and I watched the fight with Shevchenko yesterday. That was about as close as a fight can get. You know, she's toe-to-toe. She's one of the best. She's beat, you know, Liz Carmouche and Gina Bishop in her last couple, and Ilya Jana before that. And now she's taking on, you know, Ditcheva, who is 13-0, 26 years of age, has been everyone put in front of her and looks absolutely unbelievable. This is a unique type of matchup in a unique year, the greatest women's tournament that's ever been put on. I've said that since the start of the year. It's been fantastic. You know, every other year it was either Kayla was a massive favourite, you know, or Pacheco was a massive favourite. And okay, 1 year Pacheco stunned her, but either way, coming into it, it was a one-woman season. This is not that. Absolutely not. And what a fight this is. So, from Santos's point of view, as I said, going back and watching her, the one thing that massively stands out is the clinch. She loves putting people in the clinch. She loves transitioning off it. She loves getting trips and landing on top. And that to me is the best part of her game. You know, we saw in Ditcheva's last fight, I believe it was the Bishop fight, wasn't it? Yeah, where Bishop attempted to use the clinch against her. I said coming into that was the area she probably should have targeted, and it worked to a certain extent, and then she ended up taking massive shots, and it quickly didn't work in that area. Santos is obviously a higher level than Gina Bishop, and better at doing that, but she is going to have to be really careful and really good against Ditcheva in that area. Now, let's talk about the striking. And for Santos, watching Shevchenko fights and watching, you know, some of the other fights, like the Monty McCann and the Jojo Calderwood fight, or Jojo Wood as she is now, it's, look, you're going to fight those sort of opponents very differently, but what does she do? She opens up in those sort of fights, and she closes up in the higher level sort of fights. So against Shevchenko, bided her time, waited on the outside, waited, got a clinch, got a trip, got a takedown, very good on top. And that's exactly what she's going to do here. I would be shocked if Taila Santos went toe-to-toe with Dakota Ditcheva. Absolutely and utterly shocked. I think she's going to fight from the outside. She's going to wait. And so far, I know when I say from the outside, I don't mean in kicking range. I mean further outside of that. Because if you're fighting kicking range against Dakota Ditcheva, you're in trouble. So that's what I expect to see from her. From Ditcheva on the other side of it then, we're going to see what we always see. We're going to see her throwing her beautiful, technical, powerful strikes. We're going to see her opening up against the cage. We're going to see her letting her hands and feet and weapons go and her knees go. That's what Dakota Ditcheva is. Now, this is 5 rounds, so how much of an adjustment is it going to be? I believe some, but I think it's... Do you know what? Dakota Ditcheva needs this fight. She needs 5 rounds nearly. Because it's very tough for her to play that sort of game, having never done it before. You know, let's have a look at her career. First round finish, first round finish, third round finish, first round, first, one decision, then the second round, first. So only one decision in her career and one third round. You know, she has what does she have? 45 minutes or so, a little bit less even of cage time. I'd have to add that up there, but very, very short amount of time in the cage. Taila Santos nearly has that against Valentina Shevchenko. So it's difficult to know. I don't think Taila Santos has shone as much this year as she has in the past, and Ditcheva has just gone from better to better to better. But will it be enough? Like, is she good enough? Is Ditcheva the next big thing? Yes, she is. I'm gonna pick her. It was, what fight did she have in Ireland? Was it the Skittizi fight? Let me just check here. I believe it was. But I asked her after the fight she had in Ireland. It was indeed. And that was in December the 8th, 2023. So less than a year ago. I asked her, when are you going to be the best fighter in the world? And she told me, that's way down the line. Way down the line. We'll wait. We all will see when that happens. Well, let's see. let's see if it can be done. Right. Let's move on. I'm only through two fights. The next one for the light heavyweight title, Impa Kasanganay against Dovletdzhan Yagshimuradov. Very, very interesting fight as well. Another one of the ones that I'm not too sure about who I'm going to pick to win, to be honest. Spoke to Impa last week, and I think I spoke to Impa twice before, and I think every time it was after fights. It's very different talking to him before a fight. He was in fight mode. He was getting ready. He was, still a real good guy to talk to, and I love talking to him every time. But it's a very different demeanor, very, very different, and he knows the task that's ahead of him against Yagshimuradov, who is an absolute beast of a fighter and has improved. He's 35 years of age now, 24 and 7, but I think the last couple of years have been the best of his career. This year he beat Rob Wilkinson, saw him being on Jacob and Die, and in Bellator he had beaten Rozansky and Gliskas and Carvalho in 3 fights before that, who are all good guys, especially Magic Rosinski, probably one of the most underrated guys. I know he's taken a couple of losses, but he's a very, very good fighter. And what we will see from Yagshimuradov is pretty straightforward. He is a mad striker, throws big wheel kicks and hits very, very hard. Wrestles himself an awful lot, but has issues defensively wrestling, as you saw against Corey Anderson. Gets taken out an awful lot against guys who try to take him down. And I think a lot of his older fights, he got tired an awful lot. I think that's a part of his game that's definitely changed and improved, as I said, over the last couple of years. So that's what's ahead of Impa. For Impa himself, I think he is, again, one of the most improved fighters, probably the most improved fighter in the world in the last 3 years. He has to be right up there. Can do it all. Can strike, can wrestle, can have a power striking matchup or a technical striking matchup and win both. And I think he's gone from the days of, I was shocked recently to saw he had lost to Carlton Harris. Absolutely shocked. For a guy like that to beat a guy as good as Impa Kasanganay. But I'll tell you what, he wouldn't beat him today. Because what does Impa do? He beats guys like I think Jacob Bondai was a great win. Polizzi was a great win. Martin Hamlin had a very good win. He's beaten wrestlers like that, and Silveira twice as well. That Johnny Eblen fight was very, very close. I think a lot of people thought he might have won that fight. So we know he can get in there against a very good wrestler and win. I think Yagshimuradov will try to wrestle him. I don't think Yagshimuradov will want to get into a technical matchup and defeat. If he can land these power strikes, no problem. But if he can't against Kasanganay, I think he'll want to wrestle. And Kasanganay has shown his ability against wrestlers is top notch. So it kind of comes down to do you believe Impa can stop the takedowns, and then do you believe he can beat him on the feet? And to be honest, my answer to both of those questions is yes. So that makes the pick for me easy. Now, I think it's a 50-50 fight, because the answer to can he stop the takedown might be no. I could be 100% wrong there. But you know what? That's why they fight, and we will see how it goes. So I'm gonna pick Kasanganay, but I'm interested to see how that one goes. Then we have Shamil Musaev against Magomed Umalatov for the welterweight title, and by God, this is one of the most high-level fights to ever take place outside of the UFC. There's no doubt about that. 17-0-1 against 17-0. Watching both of these lads, sometimes it's hard to tell who's who, to be honest. You know, they're very similar, but very, very, very good. The differences between them, I suppose, Umalatov is all about his jab. You know, he's a counter fighter who will, if needs be, take the initiative and push forward, and especially when he senses it. Senses it's going wrong. And he's, I think, the more technical striker is Umalatov, whereas Musaev, to talk about the striking first, he has beastly power. And he struggles when he goes back, right? But only for a time. Like, there is that opportunity to push him back and kind of catch him unawares, but he adjusts so well. Like that Logan Storley fight's a great example. Like Logan Storley, I'm doing well, I'm pushing him back. And next thing, counters, power strikes, power counters. Next thing, Storley's backing up and he's pushing forward. And next thing, Musaev is just destroying you. And that's what he does. Like, imagine that. You found a way to beat this guy. You know, you're pushing him back. You're putting all the pressure on. And next thing, it just turns. He's beating you in that area. And then he's beating you in another area. And then he's beating you in the area he wants to beat you in. So, that's patting the back here. That's exactly what Musaev is. That's exactly what he is. He is a beast of a fighter who can beat you in all areas. I would say he's a slightly better athlete, maybe more than slightly, and he's definitely the more powerful guy, as I mentioned before. The thing about Musaev is, you look at some of his fights and you can put him up there with Umalatov in terms of, you know, whether it's parts of the striking, the wrestling especially. You can have an argument about who is going to who is going to be the better wrestler. You know, Umalatov more so as a guy who keeps it on the feet, whereas Musaev does change it up more, I would say, and adds in a bit of wrestling. But then Musaev fights Murad Ramazanov and he just obliterates him. Like the second fight, if you watch that second, I think if I'm Umalatov coming in here, I don't watch back the second Ramazanov fight. I'd write that off. It was almost like one guy agreed not to finish him and the other guy agreed not to win. It was one of those fights, you know, and I'm not saying like in paper or anyone, like, you know, Chael Sonnen always talks about that kind of an agreement. Ramazanov didn't want to get destroyed like he did the first time, and Musaev was just happy to get through it. So you need to put that fight to the side. Other than that, Musaev has just gone to the next level in that Storley fight and the Ramazanov first fight. Just a different sort of level in terms of the power striking, but in terms of the wrestling as well and the defensive wrestling against someone like Ramazanov, who's a bigger guy coming down from middleweight as well. He just utterly destroyed him. Just destroyed him. So if you're Umalatov, what do you need to do? I think you need to try to wrestle him, try to get him to the ground, but don't try enough to give him the initiative. You cannot give Musaev the initiative. And that is really the key to this whole fight for me. If you give Musaev the initiative, you're done. No matter what your name, if you're Umalatov or whoever you are. Absolutely done. So I think, you know, for Umalatov, again, if he can take him down, take him down. But strike him on the outside. Use that jab. Use the control. I think he's probably slightly faster as Umalatov, like in terms of the footwork and being able to stay away from... Maybe in terms of like who throws the faster punch or who can, you know, if there is a combination who's faster, I think it would be Musaev. But, you know, get on the feet, get on the bicycle, stay away, and try to outlast him over 5 rounds for Umalatov. For Musaev, the opposite, you know. Try to get into Umalatov or try to get him to come into you. Whichever way, you know, it works for Musaev. And in fact, if you're Musaev and you watch back your own fights and see the Storley fight and maybe think, oh, maybe Umalatov will try to actually attack me, thinking Storley had plus points there, let him at it. Let him come forward. I'll counter him and I'll destroy him there. And to be honest, that's not really Umalatov's way, but I can see him doing it. It's hard to look past that Storley fight and see what he did in the first 2 minutes and think, oh, I can't do that if you're a fighter that talented. Now, the other part of it you need to avoid doing, but I'm sure, you know, we all know fighters think they can do everything and think, that's not going to happen to me. So I could see that. And to be honest, though, don't listen to me. Don't mind my pick. This is just a great fight because this can go a number of ways. This could be won a number of ways by both guys. So this is not about the pick. This is not about a prediction for how the fight will go. This is about watching the fight and just seeing how it will go. Because these are two, and I'll tell you, if you haven't watched the season, you're just tuning in for the finale or whatever, these are two unbelievable fighters. If these lads are fighting in the UFC, they will be title level fighters. These lads would give Bilal Muhammad or Ian Gary or Shafiq, any of them, a massive matchup. And you know what? I think Musaev probably beat most of those lads. And he's the pick. Musaev is the pick to beat Umalatov today. Right. The last two fights. The lightweight title fight, Primus against Gadzhi Rabadanov. Such an interesting fight. You know, speaking to Brent, it was absolutely fantastic. You know, I was saying, look, Gadzhi is an unbelievable takedown artist and all of that. And I was like, you know, you're really good on the ground. And we talked a lot about jiu-jitsu and everything like that. And I was like, would you be happy for Gadzhi to take you down? And he was like, yes. He said it straight out. He was like, yeah, no problem. If he wants to take me down, I will play that game with him. And I am fascinated by that. Absolutely fascinated by that. Like, watching back, you know, I watched back tape for Gadzhi before the interview we did last week. And, you know, he's one of those guys where more so nearly than anyone in this card, he can change things up at the, you know, at the toss of a coin. Is that the right saying? At the toss of a coin? At the drop of a coin. At the toss of a coin. Oh, toss of a coin. Oh, I'm going to wrestle now. He's so good. So good. You know, Rinfro, Espinosa and Dufort this year has plenty of cage time as well. Maybe that'll stand against him. Whereas, you know, Primus, again, he's had a lot as well. 2 rounds, Miranda, Rinfro and Clay Collard in a great fight. I've said it from the very start that I thought Brent Primus was so suited to the PFL format because he's a tricky guy, you know, 2 rear naked chokes in there. He will stay in fights. He will realize he's, you know, what he needs to do to get through. And I think he's done that very, very, very well. Against Gadzhi, you know, I was looking at the betting odds for this the other day, and Gadzhi is a big, big favourite here. And I can understand why, because, you know, his ground game is very, very good, that if it does go to the ground, you know, wrestlers on top are, you know, he comes from the Aldol Malapner Magomedov school as well. We know how good those guys are on top. He's been submitted once in his career, okay, but, you know, he has had 28 fights. That's not an awful lot, you know. But on the feet, I think he'll have a big advantage. You know, his all-round striking is very good. He's a technical striker, but can hit hard as well. You know, has 7 knockouts in his career, which is not the most, I suppose. But you know, the way he hit Dufort and as well. You know, I mentioned it to Brent. The left hook that Gadzhi throws, you know, knocked out Dufort with it. He knocked out Daniel Carey in it. It's one of those punches that's scary, you know, and if he hits you with it, you're going to stay it. And Brent on the feet, again, you know, he's probably a tad underrated, but at the same time, he does get hit, you know, and he's well able to hit you as well, make no mistake about it. But I think if Brent Primus is taken to a place where Gadzhi Rabadanov isn't taking him down, Brent can't get him to the ground and is kind of just stuck standing with him, I think that's bad news for Brent. I really, really do. And, you know, it's not against him or anything. I just think Gadzhi is so good. The speed on the feet. You know, I was talking about Khizriev earlier on, and they're, you know, somewhat comparable. I think now, like, the ability for Rabadanov to throw in combinations with that left hook, you know, being either maybe the first or third shot, you're worrying at the front end and the back end. And I think he can throw the big single shots as well, unlike Khizriev, and do them very effectively, get in and get out, or else throw that big shot and duck underneath for a takedown. Now, again, what's the opinion on whether he takes him down or not, or whether he tries to take him down? And I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. But I'm not necessarily sure he'll need to. So I think Rabadanov, look, this is one of those fights where I think my pick is relatively straightforward. I think Rabadanov will win. I wouldn't rule Primus out, but I think Rabadanov on the feet is just going to be too much for him, and he'll get the $1 million here. And then the last one is the heavyweight title fight. Again, another one that I'm pretty straightforward with my pick for, and this is definitely going to be Oleg Popov here. I'll pull up the betting here in a second if I can see. We'll have the betting show later on in the week anyway, but very, very interesting fight all around in terms of, if you're Goltsov, this is really the time for you. You really have to take the initiative now, and you're going in there against a guy like this who has been who's been an absolute beast this year. Looking at the prices here, Goltsov is, God, I can't believe this. Goltsov is the favorite. Goltsov is the favorite for this. Can I click this again? Did I look at this right the other day? I was, no, he has been the favorite. I'm shocked about it. I'm telling you, here's a spoiler there for the betting show. Like Popov is definitely going to be one of my bets anyway. But like, you look at Popov's wins this year, against Linton Vassell, against Devion Franklin, against Steve Mowry, 3 tough enough type of guys to fight against. Vassell with his ability on the feet, but also his wrestling. And I was watching back a bit of that the other day, but also like reading my my recap of it I did for the show and my notes. And like, you look like, and comparing it maybe to this fight, you look at what Popov did in terms of like winning a lot of the transition battles. Tripping Vassell, landing on top in a transition, beating him down while on top. But then I had like a note in the third round, he's turned into like a karate fighter on the outside. And I think that's the difference between Popov and a lot of the other heavyweights. He's only lost one fight, and that was back in 2016, his third fight ever. And, he's beaten everyone else up since. That Gokem Sakaram win was a very, very good win as well. He's first in Bellator, and he's only had 4 fights in Bellator, I suppose. But I think he's a demon on top. He hits hard on the feet. Not the biggest striker in the world for a heavyweight, I suppose, but is very varied. 5 rounds, I'd be interested to see how he goes over 5 rounds. He's gone 3 rounds a good few times, but 5 rounds is going to be a little bit different. But yeah, I think he's very, very talented and probably underrated. Goltsov is 35-6, 34 years of age, has 29 finishes in his career, and has been finished 7 times himself. And do you know what? Denis Goltsov is one of those guys I watch every year, and I'm drawn in every year, and I think maybe he'll win it every year. And then he ends up losing. Lost to Hinafea, lost to Taila, lost to Khizriev. It's real tough. It's real tough. He's had injuries and things as well, and he's beaten some great guys. This year Tim Johnson, Thiago Santos, and Linton Vassell, knocked all of them out. Before that as well, he'd beaten Jurgen de Castro, Maurice Green, even gone back to years and years ago against the likes of Jared Rosholt and others. He's been fighting for a very, very long time. Made his debut back in 2010. He's fought against Alexander Volkov in 2011, back in M1. But I just, some of them, and this is a mean thing to say maybe, but some of them can't win the big one. Some of them just cannot do it when they get to the. And look, if it was a different guy, I'm not saying this is a weird way to say that. I'm not saying he can't win the big one, but when you put him in there against someone like Hinafea, you put him in there against someone like Andy Delia, you put him in there against someone like Oleg Popov, I just don't know if he can get over that. The Freya one was the standout one because he was beating Freya and destroying him in the first round. Gone on top, and what happened? Freya knocked him out. But this one is even different, right? This one is even more different, and I'll tell you why. Because I think against Fahea, he can beat him. Against Delia, he can beat him. Delia is similar enough matchup, I think, to Popov, but I think Popov again is to another level. If you're Goltsov, right, a good striker, but a very, very good wrestler, good at getting on top and keeping people there. I think against Popov, he's going to have to strike because I think Popov's wrestling is too good. I think he's the stronger one. I think he's the one who is more sizey, and if he gets on top of you, you're not getting up, whereas it's usually the other way around with Goltsov. And I just wonder if Goltsov's striking will be good enough to get the Popov, or whether he can stop the takedown long enough for it to be good enough to get the Popov. And I just don't think so. I was surprised. Maybe I was looking at the wrong odds or something the other day. I thought Popov was going to be a big favorite. I think he should be, but he is the underdog here. So let's see. Maybe I have it wrong. Maybe I have it wrong. And that wouldn't be the first time. But yeah, I just think Popov his wrestling is going to be too much. I think he's hitting from the outside, may cause trouble to Goltsov as well. But look, Goltsov absolutely has a chance. Maybe he can get the takedown. Maybe he can start landing that jab, and that left hand is very, very good as well at times. So we'll see how it goes. But overall, it's a fun card. Very, very good. If you haven't checked out, as I said, my PFL MENA preview, please check that out as well. Some great fights there. So, a couple of standout fights there. Ali Taleb against Rashi has. Great fight there. My guy, Mohammed Saifi, is fighting George Eid. Really, really good. And there's other title fights there as well. Al-Qatani and Aysat in a rematch. They just had, unfortunately, there was an injury there and there in that. And then Al-Qatani, sorry, that was Al-Arak against El Dafari. Really good matchup. In the undercard, some top fights there as well. Slim Trabelsi against Abraham Babli. You would have to think the winner of that will be in the heavyweight tournament next year. Same would probably have to go for Jesus Pinedo, the champ from before, against Jeremy Kennedy. And Asel is huge as well. At featherweight tournament next year, he looks so good. He could be in it. And, Alfie Davis against Mansour Barnaoui. That could be a headliner somewhere as well. So you're getting an awful lot of fights. How many fights in this card? 16, I believe. And like 10 title fights, is it? A long day ahead. Next Friday, I believe, the 29th of November, over from Saudi Arabia. So looking forward to that. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. I appreciate it. Thank you for the support all year with the coverage. And enjoy the fights. And we'll see you next time. Good luck.